Hey everybody, Zach here from Algebra Nation, and in this video we're going to begin with units, conversions, and significant digits. Now, the distance from Starkville, Mississippi to Oxford, Mississippi can be expressed using the following units: 95.5 miles, 168,080 yards, 504,240 feet, or 6,050,880 inches. With all that in mind, which measurement above is the best choice to represent the distance from Starkville to Oxford and justify your answer? So if you think about it, miles, yards, feet, or inches. Well, the distance is far, and if you're trying to explain to someone how far away these two places are, you probably would use miles. So I would say miles is going to be the best choice. So the answer would be miles. And again, the reason why is because the distance is far. Okay? And smaller units would probably not be reasonable. Okay? So it's a good little justification. The distance is very far comparatively. So I would say, oh, how far is it? I would say about 95.5 miles. Now, the table below shows examples of units for different types of measurements. So we have, of course, length, mass, and capacity that we're going to be using some of these in this video, of course, but this is a nice running list for you to remember for differences for length, mass, and capacity. Let's practice. Now, the staff at Jackson Swimming Pool are measuring swimming lanes to help swimmers track the distance they swim. Which units would you use to show the measurement of the lanes? Justify your answer. So here we're thinking of course, length, and you have to think about for a second what is usually used for length for swimming. The answer is, of course, well, meters, okay? And the reason why the answer is meters is because swimming competitions are measured in meters. So again, swimming competitions are measured in meters. So part of this is also understanding which units are appropriate and are actually used in these scenarios. So again, for swimming, meters. On the last page for long distances, you may think of miles. Go ahead and give this bottom example number 2, a try. Pause the video, see what you can answer here. Okay, we have Maria and Jose, students at Mississippi Valley University, are going to study abroad in Spain. They need to find the weight of their suitcases to make sure they meet airline regulations. What units should they use? Okay, so in this case, we're thinking of course, like capacity, like what should we use here? And the answer is pounds. Okay, and the reason why we're using pounds in this case is because airline regulations are in pounds. So airline regulations are in pounds. Now, a little side note here, possibly when they go to Spain, go from Spain back, they might have it in kilograms because in Spain, kilograms is the standard unit over there. But airline regulations in general are going to be in pounds. Now, sometimes we need to change the measurements to units that are more reasonable for a scenario. So here's your common conversions now for lengths, mass, and capacity. Okay? So now we're going to deal with, of course, conversions in this case. For example, we have Mrs. Fisher is remodeling her house and needs to buy wallpaper border for her living room. She used her tape measure and found that the wall is 197 inches wide. So we're probably going to be using 197 inches somewhere in this question. When she arrived at the store, she discovered that the border is only sold in yard-long increments. So how many yards of border should she purchase? Okay, well, we have 197 inches. We know for every, let's see, 12 inches, there's going to be 1 foot. So for every 12 inches, there's going to be 1 foot. And then for every 3 feet, we're going to get 1 yard. So 12 inches, 1 foot, 3 feet, 1 yard. So for every 3 feet, we're going to get 1 yard. Now notice how I set this up. I started with my units of 197 inches. Now I want to convert inches to feet. So notice I put 12 inches on the denominator and 1 foot in the numerator because 1 foot is equivalent to 12 inches. This is equivalent to a unit conversion. Then inches divided by inches will be equivalent to 1. Then I want to convert from feet to yards. We know for every 3 feet, there's 1 yard. So these two are equivalent, and this is what's called a unit conversion. Then I have feet divided by feet will give me ultimately yards. Now I have 197 times 1 times 1 is just 197 yards divided by 12 times 3 is 36. So 197 divided by 36, I'm using a calculator real quickly, and I'm getting 5.4722222222, so you can call it like 2 bar yards. But that's not the answer. I can only buy it in yard-long increments. So how many yards of border do I need to buy? Or how many yards of border does Mrs. Fisher need to buy? Okay? So it's not 5 yards. Okay? Don't think of rounding in this case. If I only buy 5 yards, that's not enough. I need to buy 6 yards. Okay? So I need to buy 6 yards. And that would be the answer for this question. Now the follow-up question is, how many yards of border does Mrs. Fisher actually need? Round your answer to the nearest thousandth. So remember, there's tenth, hundredths, thousandths, so that's 3 decimal places over. That would be just 5.472 yards is what's needed. Okay? Now, between these two answers that I circled, on the next page the question is, of course, which of the previous 2 measurements are more precise? Justify your answer. So which of the 2 measurements are more precise? Well, between 6 and 5.472, it would be 5.472. And the reason why is because it is closer to the actual distance needed. Okay? Then, of course, 6. So again, the answer is 5.472 is going to be more precise. It is closer to the actual distance needed than 6. Now, the precision of a number can be expressed by identifying the number of significant digits present. The rules to keep in mind when identifying significant digits are right here. So what are they? It says there's 3 of them you have to consider right now. Non-zero digits are significant. Zeros that are between other significant digits are significant. Zeros to the right of both a decimal point and a non-zero significant digit are significant. For example, if I want to determine the number of significant digits for 0.059810, and that's just a period, everybody, that's not another decimal point, that's just the end of this sentence, okay? So what you do is, from the far right, I would count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would not include that 0. I would end right here and say there are 5 significant digits in this example. So let's practice some more of this on the next page. What do we have here? We have engineering students at the University of Southern Mississippi are creating a model of a building for a class project. Sharon is using a tape measure that has markings every centimeter, while Daryl is using a tape measure that has markings every millimeter. They are both measuring the width of their group's model and got the values listed below, right here. Now, compare the number of significant digits from Daryl and Sharon to determine whose measurement is more precise. Sharon has 1, 2 significant digits. Daryl has 1, 2, 3 significant digits. I would say Daryl then is more precise, okay? So between those two, Daryl's more precise. It has more significant digits, and of course it goes out to 3 places versus 2 places. And one more time, give this one a try. It says the manager of SuperValu is calculating the price per ounce of their sweet tea. The sweet tea only comes in gallon-sized containers, so gallon-sized containers, keep that in mind. Determine the number of ounces in a container of SuperValu sweet tea. Pause the video, give this a try. Okay, so what do we have? We have a gallon-sized container. So I would start with 1 gallon, so 1 gallon. I need to convert 1 gallon, of course, to ounces. So if we look over back at our conversions, we can do that. Got to go back a few pages. We can see 1 gallon is 4 quarts. 1 quart is 2 pints. 1 pint is 16 fluid ounces, or just 16 ounces. That's the same. So we can see, once again, that for every 1 gallon, there's going to be 4 quarts. So I've now converted it to quarts. Then for every 1 quart, there's going to be 2 pints. We've now converted to pints. And now for every 1 pint, there's going to be 16 ounces, or 16 fluid ounces. That's synonymous, that's the same. I've now converted to ounces. So it looks like I'm multiplying 1 times 4 times 2 times 16, which is 128. On the denominator, 1 times 1 times 1 is just 1. So 128 divided by 1 is just 128 ounces. So that means that 1 gallon is equivalent to 128 ounces. And with that in mind, let's go ahead and we have 1 page, 1 question, part A, B, C to beat the test. The Rogers family is planning their annual family reunion. Mrs. Rogers is going to make fruit punch for the event and needs enough for 20 people. Which units should she use to calculate how much fruit punch to make? Well, based on the previous information, we would probably want ounces and gallons. Those would be probably 2 possible units that I would use when considering how much fruit punch to make. So ounces and gallons are the 2 to consider. Now for part B, it says Mrs. Rogers makes 250 ounces of punch. How many gallons does her recipe make? Rounded to the nearest 10,000th of a gallon. Ooh. Okay. So we have 250 ounces. Okay. So we just did some of these conversions before the beat the test. If you recall, we know that for every 16 ounces, there's going to be 1 pint. And notice once again, I have ounces on the numerator, so I need ounces on the denominator to deal with the unit conversion. Again, for unit conversion, you want to have the same unit on the numerator and the denominator, so that way we convert it from one to another. That is a very big. So again, if you look back at all of our unit conversions, you'll notice that I would have the same unit on the numerator and the denominator to convert from one unit, in this case ounces, now to pints. But we have to keep on going because we want gallons. We know for every 2 pints, there's going to be 1 quart. We've now converted to quarts. We know for every 4 quarts, there is 1 gallon. We have now converted to gallons. I have 250 times 1 times 1 times 1 is 250 gallons. On the denominator, I have 16 times 2 times 4, which is 128. 250 divided by 128 will give me 1.95312.5 gallons, but I want it rounded to the nearest 10,000th. So that will be 1.9531 tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, to remind you, gallons. And that would be my answer for part B. And then lastly, how many significant digits does your answer in part B have? Well, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this case, make sure you remember your rules. So here, once again, we had units, conversions, and significant digits to consider. So, with that in mind, I'll be seeing you in the next video.